Identity. It's the core of who we are, our memories, our name, and the people we call family. But what happens when your identity is questioned? Not by others, but by yourself. This is the bizarre and unsettling case of Jean-Louis Vignaud, the man who disappeared only to return years later, with a different name and a different life. This story is so strange that it has puzzled historians, psychologists, and skeptics for over a century. And it all starts in the quiet French town of Savenay in 1858. Jean-Louis Vignaud was an ordinary man. A blacksmith by trade, he was known for his strong work ethic and quiet demeanor. He lived with his wife and children in Savenay, running a small but successful forge. But one fateful day, Jean-Louis vanished without a trace. No one saw him leave town, and no body was ever found. Search parties scoured the surrounding countryside, but their efforts yielded nothing. His family was left in despair, and the town eventually moved on, assuming he had met an untimely end. For 8 years, the mystery of Jean-Louis' disappearance haunted the town. His wife and children struggled to survive without him, and his name faded into a tragic memory. Then in 1866, something extraordinary happened. A man arrived in Savenay who looked exactly like Jean-Louis. Same building, same features, same piercing eyes that the townspeople remembered so vividly. But there was one problem. This man insisted his name was Joseph Debar. Joseph claimed he was a schoolteacher from a town miles away and had never been to Savenay in his life. At first, the townsfolk dismissed him as a stranger with an uncanny resemblance. But then Joseph began to remember things only Jean-Louis could have known. Joseph could describe the layout of Jean-Louis' blacksmith shop in perfect detail. He knew the names of Jean-Louis' wife and children, remembered events from their lives, and even recounted specific conversations Jean-Louis had with his neighbors. Naturally, this threw the town into chaos. Was Joseph Debar actually Jean-Louis, returned from some unexplained journey? Or was he an imposter, exploiting the family's grief for his own gain? Despite the growing suspicions, Joseph stuck to his story. He insisted he was not Jean-Louis and had no idea how he knew these things. He even recounted his own life story, a school teacher from the town of Nantes who lived a simple life far removed from the blacksmith's forge. Strangely, records from Nantes confirmed that a man named Joseph Debar did exist and had been living there for several years. His neighbors vouched for him. His students recognized him. But how could this be possible? How could one man seemingly live two lives? The theories were as wild as the story itself. Some believed Joseph suffered from dissociative amnesia, a rare condition where a person forgets their past and assumes a new identity. Others thought he might be a con artist who learned about Jean-Louis' life to take over his estate. But some of the townsfolk whispered an even stranger explanation. What if Jean-Louis and Joseph were the same person, but somehow existing in two places at once? This theory, though fantastical, wasn't completely dismissed. In the 19th century, ideas of spiritualism and alternate realities were gaining traction. Some believed that a person's soul could split, living two lives simultaneously in parallel worlds. Could Joseph Debar have been a mirror of Jean-Louis Vignaud, somehow carrying fragments of his memories across dimensions? But the more grounded explanations are no less intriguing. Was Joseph a victim of psychological trauma, unknowingly weaving two lives together in his mind? Or was this a case of identity theft, with Joseph taking advantage of a grieving family and a town desperate for closure? To this day, no one knows the truth about Jean-Louis Vignaud and Joseph Debar. Their story remains one of the most peculiar unsolved mysteries in history, a tale that forces us to question the nature of memory, identity, and even reality itself. What do you think? Was Joseph a fraud, a victim of amnesia, or something far stranger? Let us know your thoughts below. And remember, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. This is Cranium Voices, where the curious come to ponder the unexplained. Don't forget to like, share, and follow for more stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew.